Hi, Meg here from I Teach Stamping, and today I'm going to show you how to use your watercolor crayons to make a beautiful floral card. So I'm going to start with a piece of watercolor paper, and I've got the Black Staz-On Ink pad, and I'm using Stampin' Up's Bordering on Romance, the big flowers. I'm going to start with inking it up, and you're definitely going to want to use Staz-On when you're doing watercoloring, especially on watercolor paper. You want something where the color's not going to run at all. Now what I like to do first is stamp on my scratch paper. Just kind of primes the stamp. I don't know if that's the technical term for it, but it just works a whole lot better for me. So I'm going to ink it up and stamp. Now I'm going to punch this out later, so I'm not concerned about the placement on the watercolor paper. But I really do prefer to use watercolor paper when I'm watercoloring. Now also with this watercolor paper, it's not going to have a smooth top to it, so I like to hold the stamp in place for a bit and let that ink really get into the grooves. And then peel it off, and that's how you'll have a wonderful image. Alright, so let me close this up, and then I'm going to use my aqua painters and some watercolor crayons. I wish that we had the watercolor crayons for the ink colors, but we don't, and that there's an easy way to make up for that. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to use the Perfect Plum crayon, and on your crayon you'll have a regular crayon tip, and then you have the bottom. I like to keep the tip the way it is for when I want to color directly in, and then to pick up color with my aqua painter I just go off the bottom of the crayon. Alright, so I'm going to hit all the big flowers, and I really don't care about the first coat that I'm putting on there. I want it really nice and light, but I'm going to go back in and doctor it up. So when you first do it, what you're really doing is just putting color onto your watercolor paper. So I'm going to hit all these flowers real quick. Next I'm going to use my Pretty in Pink. So these are all from the Settles. We'll go in and do these little bulbs in the Pretty in Pink, and then all these little flowers here. Then I'm going to do my leaves. I'm going to use the Wild Wasabi for that. So now I'm going to go back in and do my shading. So I'm going to start with the Wild Wasabi, and I'm just going to add some darker areas. I'm not filling in the whole thing, just kind of doing some natural shading with it. Then I'm going to change colors and go back to my pink and kind of do the same thing. Just kind of dab it around, make parts of it a little bit darker. And I'm also going to do the center of the flowers. Go to change color again, and I'm going to go back to my Perfect Plum. Just kind of move that color around. And the watercolor crayons are extremely forgiving, so if you've never played with them, don't be intimidated by them, but really the more you play with them, the more you will love them. Okay, so then I've got my watercoloring all done. So I'm going to do the rest of my stamping. I'm using from the Elementary Elegance the Happy Birthday, and I'm stamping that just onto a scratch piece of Whisper White. And I'm using Wisteria Wonder ink. And then I've also got the little hearts, and this is from the same Bordering on Romance that our flowers came from. And we're going to ink this up in Wisteria Wonder. And I have a piece of Whisper White that's going to be 3 3/8 by 3 3/8. Get that good and inked up. And stamp it there across the bottom. And then we're ready to do some assembling. So let's go ahead and do our punching. I'm going to take the 2.5-inch circle punch to punch out our beautiful flowers. Then we're going to take the 1 3/8-inch circle punch and punch out our Happy Birthday. And then I've got an extra piece of Wisteria Wonder that I'm going to use the Scallop Circle Punch on. And then we're going to put our Happy Birthday into the center of our scallop circle there. we're going to start working on the rest of our card. To begin this card, I've started with a piece of Whisper White that's going to be 4 1/4 by 8 1/2, and I've scored it at 4 1/4. Then I took a piece of Wisteria Wonder that's 3 3/4 by 3 3/4, and I took a piece of Whisper White that's going to be 3 3/4 by 1 inch, and I used the scallop border punch along it. I'm going to take a piece of the Pear Pizzazz seam binding and trim this right about here. I'm going to take some mini glue dots and put one on each end. I'm just going to wrap it around to the back side. And use those glue dots to hold it into place. Then we're going to go ahead and layer this onto the front of my card. Then I've got another strip of Whisper White that's going to be 3 3/4 by 3/4 of an inch, and I ran it through the Big Shot with the Houndstooth embossing folder. And I'm going to put this right down the left side. Now over the break I decided I also didn't like the purple with the scallop, and I changed it to Pear Pizzazz. So just punch out a piece of Pear Pizzazz and layer your happy birthday on top. I'm always messing with things. I can never leave it alone. Okay, then I'm going to take some more of this Pear Pizzazz seam binding while I've still got it out, and I'm just going to tie a bow. Okay, then all we have to do is use some dimensionals to hold our images into place. So I'm going to do that one up here. So I'm going to just take this and peel these off, peel this one off. Just kind of tuck it in place down here. And we're going to tuck the happy birthday. Let's see here. I think I'm going to do it on top. Yep, on top. Alright, and then I'm going to take another mini glue dot behind this seam binding. And tuck it down here towards the bottom. Then I can adjust the bow if I need to make it smaller, whatever I need to do. Then for the inside of the card, all I did was layer a piece of Wisteria Wonder that was 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 into the inside, and then I layered it with the cute little Whisper White that we stamped at the beginning. So I hope you enjoyed this quick tutorial teaching how to watercolor. Now members of the I Teach Stamping VIP program during the month of March, during 2012, will get a much more in-depth watercoloring class. So if you're not a member, you should really check it out. To learn more about the I Teach Stamping VIP program, go to www.iteachstamping.com and look for the VIP icon on the right-hand side. Have a great day.